shops lost to fire in Port Moresby's Gerehu suburb. European Union wants more collaboration against climate change. And bill proposed to improve work of civil registry.
This is the National EMTV News with Meribah Tulo.
A very good evening. Thank you for joining us. This is Monday's news. The Papindo supermarket and department stores in Port Moresby's Gerehu suburb went up in flames after firefighters were unable to contain the fire, which started at the nearby Bismillah wholesale just a few meters away. The initial fire started at 12 midnight, and by 3 a.m. this morning, all three shops were alight. It has been over 20 years since such a massive fire destroyed shops in the Gerehu area. Our news crew, who were at the scene at 1 a.m. this morning, were able to capture footage of the fire spreading to the Papindo department store.
A quiet night at the Gerehu suburb erupted with noise when opportunists tried to loot the surrounding shops. The Bismillah wholesale was on fire. Those who were first at the scene alerted police and the fire department. The flames rose to about 10 meters high, posing an explosion threat as the fuel station is few steps away from the initial fire. Firefighters arrived but did little to save the nearby Papindo shops. By 1:30 a.m., the flames had spread across to Papindo supermarket. And while police and security personnel watched on, opportunists grabbed what they could. The cause of the fire is unknown at this stage, but it is a sad day for owners, shareholders and employees of the three shops. Papindo is the only shop in Gerehu that competes with Bismillah, a Bangladesh-owned and operated business arm. Bismillah had bought off the former TST-owned supermarket, another shopping center in Gerehu, but it is now expanding into selling fuel and tire services and has opened a hardware store. This morning, the looting continued. Opportunists walked away with anything they could grab. This include cables, fences and tanks. Meanwhile, NCD Governor Polio says the Commission will be looking at ways to improve the operations of the fire department in Port Moresby.
So it's a big blow to everyone. But you are right, Tekla, in terms of firstly the design of the building. It compels us at the Commission as a municipal government to ever look at those design again. Because as you said, in the recent past, I think there is a fire out there, the steamship, near the steamship compound. That's the same type of building. It's like just a warehouse without probably proper, setup in terms of fire hydrant and everything. So we need to revisit that. But definitely on the part of fire service, we need to improve it. And on my part, I have expressed at the beginning of this year that NCDC, we have to take over both fire and ambulance. Now they are like in limbo. We don't know and not sure whether they are national function or provincial function.
Thakla Gunga, National EMTV News.
People living at the Garden Hill settlement in Port Moresby have been forced by police to vacate the land that they have been living on for years. A community leader claimed that they were not served with a proper eviction notice by the authorities prior to the eviction. Community leader Francis Talu appealed to NCD Governor Polio and the Lands Department to step in and help them.
The people at the Garden Hills informal market were taken by surprise when the police went in with a bulldozer this morning to evict them. The people were busy with their normal daily activities when the police arrived. Community leader Linga Mengino said they were not made aware of the eviction and why they are being evicted. He claimed that they are being evicted so that an AOG church can build a church on that piece of land.
Lands Department must come na tok sabalo mi plausem this la ground AOG kisim or investor by come inside. All this is something almost talk 7 and mipla sabe past them, but only not talk 7 lo mipla. All you see police all come na police rausi mipla na. All mama sindano market all kisimo santina run away all semol. All man la come kilimo na run away. Which mipla no like him. Mipla stop on this la ground. This las line only come moving this la Garanil market. And Mayoji said, we were here before only come.
The small informal market at Garden Hill has been the only source of income for the people living in the area, and everyone living there, including public servants, benefit from that market. Community leaders are concerned that if they are removed from that marketplace, they would have no place to go. A former public servant and community leader, Francis Talu, told MTV they have been living in that area for many years and they do not deserve such treatment. He made an appeal to the NCT governor and lands minister for help.
Me appeal long lands minister, Honorable Justin Chatenko, emis our sanablo rights belong all people. Now Honorable Governor too. All this man lo here only put them you belong power now. You belong authority lo decide long welfare belong all people. Now I'm time you belong prove you not talk yes this play eviction legal or not. Me plan one plan answer or this plan. Me plan like him this plan answer now.
Mothers who have been selling their produce in that market also expressed concern, saying the market is their only way to support their family.
Me plan by market kai rogoen. Okay, you so me plan degree half. Okay, me plan my market in a kai. Na em hat lo me plaro 7 more school pigin ni bro me plan.
Lo market emba me plan stop life. Lo disla now. Now me no sa night lo me plan ba emba bagarap.
All give one ba lick. Up lo mi pla lo market na or rausi di slab right, but all no thing him na all come rausi na mi pla to surprise lo go market lo one pla.
Rayon Lakingu, National MTV News.
The Leh District Court has adjourned the trial of 4 Chinese men who entered the country illegally for the 3rd time in 2 months. This time, their lawyer was not prepared to proceed with the case. She said she still needed time to understand this particular case. The men are from Fujian province in China and were arrested by police in Leh 2 months ago for breaching immigration laws. They are still out on bail and will appear in court on the 17th of October.
On Wednesday, 29 August, Magistrate Edward Kupo adjourned the case to the 19th of September due to the need of a translator because the 4 Chinese men couldn't speak English and talk Pisin. Magistrate Kupo was also told by the prosecutor that information on one of the charges needed to be changed due to an additional charge on one of the defendants, Deming Fang. The defendant's lawyer from Wanashan Lawyers, who recently took up the case from another lawyer, didn't cite the changes made and requested further adjournment. These men are from Fujian province in China. They were employed at a fruit juice factory in Leh, trading as Sunny Food Limited that produces Lipo juice. They were arrested by police through the assistance of the Immigration and Citizenship Authority in July on 4 separate charges. They were charged for illegal entry without valid permit or visa and false information on the entry permit. They were also in possession of an entry permit without lawful authority. These 4 Chinese men were released on bail at 700 kina each almost 2 months ago. They are still out on bail. This is the 3rd time Leh District Court has adjourned the case. The men will appear in court on the 17th of October this year. Julie Badui Owa, National MTV News, Leh.
The European Union is looking to encourage more dialogue and collaboration to combat climate change this Climate Diplomacy Week. The Climate Diplomacy Week will be held from the 24th to the 29th of this month and is a global event for EU delegations and member states. Discussions were held today amongst media houses on the challenges of climate change faced by Papua New Guinea and on a global scale.
In the recent Pacific Island Forum, Pacific countries agreed the greatest threat to Pacific Island nations was climate change. During the Climate Diplomacy Week, the European Union delegation to PNG hopes to create discussion on climate change in PNG. This to contribute to the global action. Outreach activities will include discussions with academia, civil society, government, the public as a whole, and the media. During the media information session, the head of EU Charge d'Affaires, Rudy Fillon, highlighted what the European Union is doing to progress towards the long-term goal of the 2015 Paris Agreement and how EU countries' nationally determined contributions will be communicated by 2020.
We also, together with our member states, continue to provide support to other countries to achieve this, to mobilize international climate finance and to work towards this common goal.
Climate change affects all sectors, and Mr. Fillon says the impacts have been seen in EU countries and will be seen in PNG if there is no action or education.
And finally, marine litter damages business in economic sectors. As I said, it damages tourism business, it damages fisheries, aquaculture, it disturbs navigation, and it has an impact on energy.
The European Union has a number of climate change partner programs they run in the country. One of them is PNG Forest Monitoring System, which provides accurate and partially explicit images showing forest extents and the locations where activities causing deforestation are happening. As illegal logging and logging affects the usual amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, it is a key aspect of combating climate change.
We see that climate change, forestry, protection of the oceans, biodiversity are areas that are very closely interlinked. They are hugely relevant for Papua New Guinea, and because of that they are very important and relevant for us and our presence and our action here.
Meanwhile, EU countries also impose a ban on imports of forest products that are made from illegal logs as a measure for their battle against climate change. The EU has also organized a public beach cleaning on Saturday morning to raise awareness, with diplomatic and local staff of the EU delegation to lead the effort. Adelaide Xerox Kari, National, EMTV News.
A draft bill to improve the work of the Civil and Identity Registry Office will be presented to Parliament after a nationwide consultation. The first one for the southern region began today and will continue tomorrow before it moves to the Highlands, New Guinea Islands and Moresby regions. Participants gathered in Port Moresby to review the Civil Registry Act 1992. Fidelis Sukina reports.
A draft bill for civil and identity registration is being discussed, and a nationwide consultation will happen before the final bill is presented to Parliament. The current Civil Registration Act 1963 is outdated and will be changed.
A lot of the terms and the processes are based on an Australian perspective. It does not reflect the realities of even today. Papua New Guinea is now 43 years old, and we're living with a law that was given to us by our colonizers, and we're still claiming it as our own.
The Civil Registry is no longer part of the Community Development Office and has taken on the challenge to review the outdated act.
So what the government has done in 2017 was it has lifted the function of Civil Registry to be an office, and that decision has created a transfer of functions from Department of Community Development, where civil matters were administered, and has now been transferred to the Office of PNG Civil and Identity Registry, which my office is now coordinating.
With the office established and looking to function and effectively roll out the nationwide NID program, it has to have new laws to guide it.
Is basically doing the overhaul into the old law. Because it is an outdated 1963 Act with the insertion of NID provisions, the whole content of the Act needs to be reviewed.
The bill will include major reviews and will highlight major reforms in civil registry vital events, which includes births, marriages, deaths, and adoptions.
We can tell you which section comes from which country. We've looked at from the Pacific region to Australia, New Zealand, and we also looked at the US, and we looked at Europe and Africa. So the bill that you have before you is basically a broad-based piece of legislation that draws experiences and provisions from different parts of the world.
Fidelis Sukina, National EMTV News.
The review of the Civil Registry Act also discussed divorce statistics. We'll have that story and others when we come back. You're watching National EMTV News. Welcome back to the news. Recently, the Western Highlands Provincial Health Authority brought together pastors from different denominations to educate them about polio. The pastors were given lessons on hygiene and were urged to go back to the churches to educate their congregations. Many of the pastors had travelled long distances to learn about polio.
The Western Highlands Provincial Health Authority is still carrying out community awareness on the polio outbreak. Last Friday, pastors from different denominations gathered at Holy Trinity outside Mount Hagen and were told to preach the gospel in their churches, as well as educating their church members about polio and ways to prevent contracting the disease. Polio is a deadly disease that has no cure. It can paralyze someone or kill. For prevention, people are urged to drink clean water, look after their hygiene and health, and live in clean environments. The first case of polio that was discovered in August in Western Highlands Province was from a 9-year-old boy who travelled from Pga in Enga Province seeking medical assistance at Mount Hagen General Hospital. Western Highlands Provincial Health Authority managed to vaccine 91% of the total population of children under the age of 5 years old in Western Highlands in its first round of vaccinations. The second and third rounds will be in October and November and will be given to children 15 years and below. Vasanata Yama, National EMTV News, Mount Hagen.
The Papua New Guinea Association of Administrative Professionals will host the Asia Secretaries Association Congress in Port Moresby. ASA members from across the Asian region, together with their PNG counterparts, will come together for the week-long event, which begins tomorrow.
Papua New Guinea Association of Administrative Professionals is a new association affiliated with the Asian Secretaries Association. PNG is the only country in the Pacific region among with other Asian countries who are members of the association. The week-long meeting will see different speakers presenting papers on different aspects of administration. PNG AAP President Mia Lo Isaac said she is grateful of being the host of such major event in their field.
Well, some of the projects that we get into is we're trying to get those unfortunate, not unfortunate, but like young women or young administrative professionals who have not had the opportunity of having to further their careers. So we take them on board, we groom them and we mentor them. So we train them informally in our association, and then we put them through formal training. So then they get a certificate, a proper trade certificate, and then they can go out and get a job.
She said, with the ever-changing technological era in the Asia-Pacific region, it is amazing to bring in like-minded people and be innovative to reach greater heights in their field. PNG AAP is not funded by any organization or donor agencies, but through their own fundraising drive, and being the host association for the ASA Congress for the first time has been a challenge for them.
We're fairly new, and we're a baby in this association, you know, the ASA, and we have brought in 44 delegates from India, which is the biggest delegate so far, apart from our host country, Papua New Guinea, and we've got about 250 plus registered to attend this Congress, both international and national.
The Congress starts today with members' registration, with the official launch and opening tonight. The long series of presentation and other activities will begin tomorrow before it ends on Thursday. Rayon Lakingu, National EMTV News.
The number of divorce cases in the country every year is unclear, and while there is acknowledgement from authorities that it is a growing concern, there are no exact statistics covering this area. In the new draft bill on civil and identity registration, it was highlighted that there is a need for proper procedures to follow in order to register the end of a marriage.
There are no official statistics on marriage separation and divorce in PNG. This was highlighted by Acting Secretary for Planning, Connie Samuel, during the Southern Region review of the current Civil Registration Act 1963.
I don't think anybody sitting here this morning will be able to give us a statistics of how many divorces that are taking place. Annually, how many divorces that are taking place in this country. We don't have the statistics on that.
Civil Registration Acting Registrar General Michael Kumung agrees that they don't have enough statistics. The draft bill that will be presented to Parliament after the nationwide consultation has a section that will allow the court to provide proof of divorce or separation. But Kumung acknowledged the lack of statistics before adding that it is the same for adoptions.
So definitely, as we speak, we do not know the statistics of divorce in our country. We do not know the statistics of, how many kids without, a father or kids without a mother, single parent managing all these things. These are a lot of issues. We have got a growing problem of single parent in our country. We've got growing issues of divorce and.
The main aim now for the Civil Registry Office is to gather enough information of each individual from birth to death.
So this is all management administration of the civil matters that governs the whole civil registry. The vital events from the two extremes, born and death. All that events in between has to be administered and recorded. And
Fidelis Sukina, National EMTV News.
In a move to strengthen military ties between the United States and Papua New Guinea, the U.S. government will offer training opportunities for PNG military personnel at its military and naval academy. This is among agendas to be put forward to the PNG government by visiting U.S. Navy Undersecretary Thomas Modly. He arrived today to reaffirm the U.S. commitment to the defense and security of PNG within the Indo-Pacific region. During his two-day visit, he is expected to meet with high-level Papua New Guinea government officials and military personnel and reaffirm the U.S. commitment to closer military ties in this part of the world. The Polio district of East New Britain province is not a cocoa growing region, but the district has put its hand up to try farming the crop and exporting it directly overseas. The Polio people believe by opening its doors to cocoa, they will not only generate regular income, but save the environment that is gradually being taken up by logging and oil palm development.
Polio district is one of the 4 districts of East New Britain province, and like its 3 other sister districts, it grows organic cocoa too, but not in large quantity. But the remoteness of the district has hindered most of their produce from reaching the cocoa markets in Kokopo and Rabaul. The regular means of transport is by boat, and it takes about 6 hours to get to the provincial capital from the district headquarters at Palmalmal. An alternative way of getting into town is by passenger ship or small aircraft once every week. Even if the cocoa farmers reach the market with their cocoa bags, a huge amount of money they make goes to the freight costs alone. Until recently, ongoing debates of oil palm and logging activities and the disadvantages that come with it has prompted the Polio people to venture into the cocoa business, not only to earn an income, but to save their untouched forests from being taken away by logging and oil palm activities.
Generally, the interest is there. It's just kind of arrangement in place, and we can get our communities organized, continue to support them. I believe that we trust our communities, our local communities. They're actually looking forward for this kind of opportunities that is available to us.
At a recent gathering, the Polio District Administration has received strong support from the United Nations Development Programme to pursue this economic challenge to grow and sell cocoa.
It's a small project, but it will bring in a lot of income for the households in that community. And I think that that's incredibly important. And I think that if we can be successful in this project, where we are combining conservation with income and livelihoods for communities, I think that's a win-win situation for the future.
This recently signed MOU between the 2 parties marked the start of work for the Polio people who chose to grow cocoa. But that is not all. The MOU will sort an international market for these remote farmers as they want to export directly, an opportunity that is predominantly occupied by a middleman who always wants a greater deal of profits. Edwin Fidelis, National EMTV News, Kokopo.
You're with National EMTV News this Monday. We go for another break. When we come back, we take a look at stories making headlines overseas. Welcome back to the news. Turning overseas now, the United States has declared Jerusalem as Israel's capital, but Palestinians are not giving up on the city. One Palestinian man is launching a bid to be the city's mayor, even though he is not an Israeli citizen.
This video by a Jewish group is supposed to scare Jerusalem's Jewish residents into voting, depicting a fictitious Palestinian mayoral candidate in cahoots with terrorists.
It is because we are Arab, because we are Palestinian.
Aziz Abu Sara hopes to be a real Palestinian mayoral candidate. His concerns are better roads, trash collection, housing, and schools for Jerusalem's Palestinian residents.
So tell me the big differences between East and West Jerusalem.
I think this street is a great example. This is an important street here in East Jerusalem, and look at it. It's not paved, it's not taken care of. You see garbage everywhere because normally it takes weeks for the municipality to empty the garbage. You would never find the streets like this in West Jerusalem. People would not allow it. They'll complain to the municipality and the municipality will come and take care of it.
Before the Six-Day War in 1967, Jerusalem was split in two. Israel controlled the west and Jordan the east, including the Old City. Israel captured the east during the war. Now viewed as occupied territory by the international community, Israel claims it as part of a unified capital. The city council insists it not only provides, but is actually expanding services to East Jerusalem, including transport, housing, and education. But the divisions remain stark. Jerusalem's Palestinian residents, living overwhelmingly in the east, rarely vote despite being nearly 40% of the population and paying tens of millions of dollars in taxes. Last election, voter turnout was in the single digits.
We're being taxed with no representation. And what we are trying to say to our people is like, enough is enough.
Alongside supporter Ida Klebo, Abu Sara explains the difficulties getting Palestinians to listen to him.
How is that going? I think people are afraid that by doing this, we are accepting the occupation in Jerusalem. We are legalizing it. We are making it okay.
Before he can run and challenge the other Jewish candidates for mayor, Abu Sara needs an Israeli court to help him. Like most of the city's Palestinian residents, he's not an Israeli citizen, and current rules say that makes him ineligible.
We are breaking a taboo. This is a 51 years of times that Palestinians have not participated in those elections. And so it's hard to change whenever you try to break something like that.
And that's perhaps the biggest challenge, giving Jerusalem's Palestinians change they can believe in.
Rescuers are desperately trying to reach a seriously injured sailor off the coast of Western Australia. The man who's taking part in the Golden Globe round-the-world yacht race became stranded after his mast broke in a severe storm.
Rolled, dismasted, severe back injury, cannot get up.
A distress message from solo yachtsman Abhilash Tommy after a severe storm whipped up 80-mile-an-hour winds and 45-foot waves, breaking his mast on Friday. He's injured and unable to leave his bunk.
I'm very relieved to be at the start of the Golden Globe race.
This is Tommy at the start of the race in July. The 39-year-old Indian Navy commander is no stranger to extreme conditions. He completed the same round-the-world challenge in 2013. It's a 30,000-mile non-stop solo race. Competitors had set off from France on the 1st of July. They'd been tracking down the west coast of Africa. Tommy had moved into third place when he got into trouble nearly 2,000 miles off the west coast of Australia. He's now stranded in the middle of the Indian Ocean.
And this almost the Suhaili lap of honour.
Sir Robin Knox-Johnson was the first man to sail around the world single-handedly back in 1968. Tommy's yacht is a replica of Sir Robin's. The pair are close friends.
Avinash is a tough guy. I mean, he's the first Indian to go solo non-stop around the world. So he's experienced. He's been down there before. He's a naval officer. He knows what he's up to. He's very resourceful.
Help is on the way. This morning, the Indian Air Force located Tommy's yacht. Rival competitor Gregor McGuckin is expected to reach Tommy with medical supplies by first light, while it's hoped a French fisheries vessel is close behind and can take them to safety.
The Duchess of Sussex has revealed a few secrets from her wedding day. She made a confession about her dress as part of a new documentary series on the royal family.
The iconic Givenchy wedding gown that took people's breath away. And as the Duchess of Sussex is reunited with her dress for the first time, she reveals the secret that lay beneath.
Somewhere in here there's a piece of, did you see it, the piece of blue fabric that's stitched inside? No. It's my something blue. It's fabric from my... I hope it's still in there. Yes, we'll have to look at that. It's fabric from the dress that I wore on our first date. Oh, that's about the most romantic thing.
Just as the Queen's coronation gown featured a flower for each country of the Commonwealth, so too did Meghan's wedding gown. Her decision to put the Commonwealth at the centre of the design, confirmation that, alongside Harry, she will continue the work the Queen began all those years ago. It was also something she knew would please her prince.
And I knew that it would be a fun surprise as well for my now husband, who didn't know. And he was really over the moon to find out that I would make this choice for our day together. And I think the other members of the family had a similar reaction and just appreciation for the fact that we understand how important this is for us and the role that we play and the work that we're going to continue to do within Commonwealth countries.
Meghan and Harry will embark on their first royal tour next month when they'll visit the Commonwealth countries of New Zealand, Australia, Tonga and Fiji.
And to take us into Trukai sports, after years in the golfing wilderness, Tiger Woods has swung back for what some are calling one of the greatest comebacks in sporting history. The troubled sportsman was once one of the most famous and highest paid athletes in the world. Today won his first title in 5 years. Arguably, the greatest golfer of all time, was estimated to have earned $1.5 billion during his career. But how the mighty had fallen. After marital problems, sex addiction issues, and serious physical ailments, Tiger tumbled to a ranking of 1199 last year. He's now back at number 21, but is likely to move even higher after today's victory. Here's more on his remarkable revival.
Tiger to the Tour Championship.
I would say he's fairly popular right now.
A Tiger back in the hunt, his long-awaited return to top form sending fans into a frenzy, sparking scenes rarely seen in the genteel world of golf.
They wanted their own eye to a very special piece of golfing history.
The chants almost deafening from Georgia's East Lakes packed gallery. The 45-year-old finally seizing his first PGA victory in 5 years.
You think the world of golf wasn't ready for Tiger's comeback?
It's a remarkable comeback for the former world #1, whose spectacular fall from grace began nearly a decade ago.
I am deeply sorry for my irresponsible and selfish behavior.
The father of 2 young children forced to publicly admit adultery and seek treatment for sex addiction.
I was unfaithful. I had affairs. I cheated.
Adding to his woes, back injury so serious a return to golf looked unlikely and contributed to his arrest last year for driving under the influence of drugs. Kiwi David Neathie works with many top sports people and says a comeback on Woods' scale takes tenacity and self-belief.
Most average people would crumble, but we're talking about an exceptional athlete here. We're talking about a man who his whole life has been about this.
And New Zealand Golf says there's a new maturity in Woods, his victory today showing a focus on more success.
We saw that the way he celebrated. To me, it was quite understated for Tiger. You know, he put his hands up in the air. He certainly celebrated, but in an understated way that suggests he's got one eye already on the 2019 season.
Have we ever seen anything like this in golf? Well, look at this scene.
Woods may be flawed, but his fans just can't get enough of Tiger back at the top of his game.
And we'll have more on Tiger Woods coming up in Trukai Sports. Also, we'll have some news on the Prime Minister's 13 that has been named to take on Australia. We'll be back after these messages.
Pga Sports.
Welcome to Pga Sports. We begin with Rugby League. The 2018 PNG Prime Minister's 13 team was announced today at the Oil Search National Football Stadium. The team consists of a good mixture of players from the NRL, Intercity Cup and the English Super League.
The team sees some new faces into the side in the likes of Daniel Russell from the South Logan Magpies, Kyle Labert from the North Queensland Cowboys and Edene Gebi from the ESP Hunters. A few players have not been named in the team due to their performance, injury concerns and other issues.
Luke Page really wanted to play, but last year he missed 8 weeks. He missed out a lot on his work, so he's also, while he's playing, he's also employed and is working, supporting family down there. So he's asked to be considered for next games, but so I allowed him to do that. Kurt Baptist hasn't had a good season with after he left Raiders, and he's trying to get himself established in the Roosters team. So at the moment there's a few players ahead of him, so he's carrying a bit more. He's got a few more injuries he needs to fix up and prepare himself for next year.
Many of the players named in this year's team have been part of the squad since the 2017 Rugby League World Cup and the 2018 Pacific Test. 4 shadow players have been named in the likes of Alex Johnston from the South Sydney Rabbitohs and Jack DeBellin from the St. George Illawarra Dragons.
All boys are ready to come into camp. England boys will be arriving a bit late during the week. The boys that are still playing finals, Bulldogs, Rhys Martin, Justin, Melbourne Storm, Len, Lachlan Lem is still attached to the Roosters, so he's part of the 25-man squad, so he needs to be still there until Tuesday next week they come up. So.
National Gaming Control Board has supported the PM's 13 for 4 years and has come on board again this year. NGCB CEO Imelda Agon says they are proud to support the PM's 13 with the main message to stop violence against women. She says the PM's 13 concept also sets a platform for rugby league in the country to prosper over the years.
Rugby league is a sporting code that makes a difference in the lives of our people in the country, and it basically unites every one of us. When the game of rugby league is on, the country comes to a standstill. And because of our Give Back program, we saw that it is only fitting that on behalf of the government, the National Gaming Control Board comes on board, and we've been doing it for a while. But
PNGRFL Chairman Sandy Saka thanked NGCB and other sponsors for their continued support for Rugby League and the PM's 13.
The match series is proudly supported by the National Gaming Control Board. They've had the naming rights for the Prime Minister's team for the last 4 years. The match would not be possible, obviously, without the support of our Team Kumul's partner, the naming rights sponsor for the PM's 13 series, National Gaming Control Board.
The team assembles in Port Moresby on Wednesday, with players from Australia and England to arrive in the country before the end of the week. They will have about 12 days in camp before the match against the Australian PM's 13 team on the 6th of October at the Oil Search National Football Stadium. Elijah Levet, National EMTV Sports.
And the Prime Minister's 13 test match will be a sanctioned test match held every year between PNG and Australia. PNG RFL Chairman Sandy Saka thanked the Australian Rugby League for sanctioning the test match and moving the date to after the NRL Grand Final to allow for both countries to pick their best players for the annual match.
Over the last 2 years, we have consulted and discussed with the NRL to move the Prime Minister's 13 to after the NRL Grand Final, which would make it possible for both teams to have their best teams on the field. So I want to, at this juncture, on behalf of the PNG-RFL, acknowledge the support of former Kumul's coach and current Australian coach, Mal Manninga, Todd Greenberg, and the team down in Sydney for actually working in partnership with the PNG-RFL to move the PM's 13 from early September to the week after the Grand Final, which enables both countries to put their best team on the paddock for the Prime Minister's 13.
And to the NRL, injured Roosters playmaker Cooper Cronk will be given until an hour before kickoff to see if he can play in Sunday's NRL Grand Final against his former club, the Melbourne Storm.
34-year-old played through the pain barrier, almost a spectator, in the Roosters' 12-4 win over the Rabbitohs on Saturday. And today he was giving little away about the extent of his damaged wing.
Look, I'm a long shot. That's not lying. The honest thing is that I'm not going to go into the details of the injury because at the moment, with all due respect, you're on a need-to-know basis, and at the moment you don't need to know.
Yeah. There it is. Meanwhile, Roosters hooker Jake Friend will definitely take his place in the final. That's despite pleading guilty to a dangerous throw charge after upending Rabbitohs captain Greg Inglis.
And Trukai Sports continues. After these messages, we'll have Tiger Woods back in competition after winning a major golf tournament. Stay tuned for the details.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. To golf now, and it's a day many hoped for and others thought would never come. Tiger Woods winning again on the PGA Tour. 2 years ago, he could barely walk, his body was broken, and he needed repeated operations on his spine. But his comeback slowly gained momentum this season, and today it hit full speed.
Love him or hate him, everyone wants to watch him.
Look at this scene.
I just didn't want to get run over. I can't run anymore.
It's been 5 years since Tiger Woods won a tournament, and these fans were determined to have a front row seat.
I was having a hard time not crying coming up last hole, you know. But I said, hey, you know what? I could still blade this thing out of bounds. So let's just suck it up and let's hit some shots here.
He needn't have worried. In the end, Woods had an easy tap-in for par to seal the season-ending Tour Championship by 2 shots.
I just can't believe I pulled this off after, you know, what the season's gone through, and
It's a remarkable comeback for a man who admitted he may never play golf again. 16 months ago, he hit rock bottom, arrested for driving under the influence of drugs following spinal fusion surgery. His 4th back operation in 3 years as he tried to fix crippling back spasms.
Oh my God, this is probably...
But the 14-time major champion knows how to fight and win. With the world watching, the 54-hole leader exploded out of the gates at Eastlake with a birdie on the very first hole.
That's the way to show how your nerves are.
In fact, until the final hole, Woods was also in the running for the season-long FedEx Cup bonus. But then world number 1 Justin Rose made a birdie in front of him at 18.
That's going to be your FedEx Cup champion.
Rose may be $15 million richer, but even he realised he wasn't the story of the day.
I would like to take this moment to congratulate Tiger. I think the world of golf just is really proud of you right now, and it's super excited about your game.
And the game of golf is probably excited about just what having this guy back at his best means, especially with the Ryder Cup this weekend.
And Trukai Sports ends there. We go for a break and be back with the weather details for Tuesday. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
A look at the weather forecast in the southern region for the next 24 hours. Showers expected in Alotau and Popondetta. Mostly fine for the next 24 hours for Port Moresby, Daru and Kerma, with a top temperature of 30 degrees.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
And that's the news, sport and weather for today, Monday the 24th of September. On behalf of the EMTV News team right around the country, pleasant viewing. Good night.